Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/Simon Drew. I also do one-on-one mindset coaching, and you can book in your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. On Facebook, you can join my group, the Practical Stoic Mastermind. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. When we first find a new philosophy or start studying a new subject, it can be easy for us to allow our mouths to overtake our actions. We get so excited about the content of our studies that we forget the age-old expression that actions speak louder than words. I know that I have definitely lived like this many times before. I've been so caught up in how people see me that I forget that what's most important is how I see myself and how closely I align my actions with my principles. See, we live in an interesting time where social media allows us to put on a face and to draw a line between what the world sees and what actually is the case. In fact, if I had to guess how many people are actually as happy and successful as they appear on their Facebook timelines, I'd say the number would be close to 5%. As students of philosophy, and especially as students of Stoicism, a philosophy which places so much emphasis on living the principles, it is imperative that we immediately start living by the values that we claim to hold so dear. And so in this episode, I have a few quotes from Epictetus that will hopefully inspire you to take a deeper look at your life and decide where you can more closely align your actions with your words. The first quote goes as follows, quote, "Don't declare yourself to be a wise person or discuss your spiritual aspirations with people who won't appreciate them. Show your character and your commitment to personal nobility through your actions." End quote. Stoicism is a philosophy of actions, not words. We are constantly encouraged by the Stoic philosophers to live not through our mouths but rather through our daily habits and actions. Stoicism is a practical philosophy, and it is only as useful so far as it is put into practice. And on a side note, I often ask my guests how we should be sharing Stoicism with others, and this is a question that I am often asked myself. And the answer seems to be clearly defined. Don't tell people about Stoicism, but instead live the principles and allow them to see the result of your study. And so what Epictetus is really pointing out in this passage is that we should be mindful of how often we're talking about our values, and we should try to see how that compares to the amount of time that we spend actually living by those values. And on top of this, we should stop declaring ourselves to be living wisely. And we should instead allow people to come to their own conclusions about how philosophy is impacting our lives. There should be little talk and a lot of action. Moving on, Epictetus says the following, quote, "If someone tries to impress you, claiming to understand the writings and ideas of a great thinker such as Chrysippus, think to yourself, the important thing is not to be able merely to speak fluently about abstruse subjects. What is essential is to understand nature and align your intentions and actions with the way things are. The person who truly understands Chrysippus's writings, or the precepts of any great mind, is the person who actually applies the philosopher's teachings. There is a big difference between saying valuable things and doing valuable things." End quote. When you study the words of the Stoic philosophers, do you really study them? Do you really dial into what they're trying to teach you? Because if you did truly understand the meaning of their teachings, then you wouldn't be talking about them, but you'd be living them. Seneca's writings are beautiful and inspiring, but what's more inspiring is the personal change that comes as a result of living the principles that Seneca taught. Yes, Marcus Aurelius has shared some amazing thoughts in his meditations, but without diligent practical application of those thoughts, they are meaningless. It's nice to share a good quote with a friend, but it's even better to share a good discipline with a friend. Don't simply claim to be a student of great philosophers. Embody the principles that they teach and allow others to come to their own conclusions about whether or not you're a serious student of those philosophers. And moving on, the final quote from Epictetus that I want to share is this. Quote, "The life of wisdom begins with learning how to put principles, such as we ought not to lie, into practice. The second step is to demonstrate the truth of the principles, such as why it is that we ought not to lie. The third step, which connects the first two, is to indicate why the explanations suffice to justify the principles. While the second and third steps are valuable, it is the first step that matters most, for it is all too easy and common to lie while cleverly demonstrating that lying is wrong." End quote. As I've said earlier, it is so easy for us to put on a face and present a picture of our lives that is vastly different to the reality. Hypocrisy seems to have become its own religion. But we must remember that although talking about principles may bring some short-term gratification, if you want to see truly amazing long-term results, then you'll have to start living the principles that you talk about. Remember that as a Stoic, with the principles that you've learned, you have a responsibility to your family, friends, community, and most importantly to yourself, to stop talking and start doing. Put down the mask and start the simple yet difficult task of becoming a person of action. Nothing worthwhile is easy, and if you want to be a truly amazing person, then you'll have to start living by your self-proclaimed values right away. Actions speak louder than words, so let's get to work. I'll speak to you next time, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope it's been valuable for you, and if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew. If you'd like to try mindset coaching with me, then you can book your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. To join the community, just go to Facebook and search for the Practical Stoic Mastermind. The links to all of these places are included in the show notes, but for now, this is Simon Drew signing out.